Hello and welcome to an episode of Atomic Vinyl Reviews. My name's Jacob and today I've got another unboxing video for you guys. So I've just got this random simple package. I'm not sure what exactly is in here, but I do have my suspicions. So let's dive right into this one and see what we got. As always with a lot of these packages, it's just simply wrapped in this white and black paper, or plastic rather, that a lot of stuff from China seems to be wrapped in. We just got a simple cardboard box. Oh, and a cute little Barbie on the front. Yeah, okay. No idea what this says. I think it's in Chinese or something. And if we snip this yellow tape, we'll see what we got. Is this what I think it is? We got more bubble wrap. Okay. Undo it. That. Okay, I think it is. Fingers crossed. Okay, yeah, it is. It totally is. Okay. Oh, I was worried that this thing was gonna be fake or, you know, this. I'll explain it later, but here we go. We have the random Chinese third-party figure of the... Oh shit, what was that movie called? Ready Player One. That's the one. The Ready Player One MechaGodzilla figure. So before we had the official MonsterVerse Godzilla, you know, this guy here from Godzilla vs. Kong, in the movie Ready Player One, which was just like an all-out fanfic of a movie set inside a weird virtual video game world, we had this version of MechaGodzilla. And this figure appeared... Oh, and it smells plasticky as hell. Okay. That's typical for a lot of these types of figures, actually. Yeah, very plasticky, fumey smelling, but that'll pass pretty quick. So out of nowhere, images of this thing started showing up all over the internet, all over the Godzilla Facebook groups and stuff like that, and people were saying, "Oh, this is like a fan-made figure, like a custom that some fan made." But unbeknownst to everybody, it just showed up on sites like eBay and AliExpress, which is where I purchased this dude from, for prices varying between, like, I only know it in Australian dollars, so it's going to be a little bit less in US dollars, but it was like, I think I got this guy for around 50, 60 bucks or something like that, but they go, the ones on eBay were like 120 bucks, so, you know, around the price of your cheaper Monster Arts, for example. And people were speculating, like, oh, they're probably just going to send you a bootleg of this dude here, which is a Bandai vinyl of the 74 MechaGodzilla, or something like that, because that has happened before with some of these knockoff figures. It hasn't happened to me, but it has happened to some other people where they've purchased some knockoff figures and expected to get, you know, a bootleg of something completely different. However, it does look fairly legit. So this is a third-party figure. I have not looked at that design very recently, so I'm not sure how accurate it is, but the figure is real. Look at this thing. Look at it. He real. He real. He's all shiny, metallic, and he seems quite well made. So this guy seems... He's not super big, he's not like an X Plus size figure, but he is bigger than like your typical NECA figure, for example, by a little bit. Got a very strange design. I don't know how I feel about this one. I was never particularly partial to the Ready Player One design as far as MechaGodzillas go, but I did think it was really cool to see MechaGodzilla in that movie. And this guy does look really reminiscent of that, and just as a figure, seems pretty legit, pretty cool. So he does have articulation, but a lot of it feels really just straight out of the box. I don't know, it was in a box, but it was also just wrapped in bubble wrap. But just like, first thing, it doesn't seem that great. Is these really skinny parts from his legs here, and they work. They're the thing that moves the most, but I'm kind of worried we're going to have trouble holding a stance with them because they're kind of loose. Whereas the hip joints, they seem to be ball joints, but they just don't want to move, and I'm really scared of doing anything more than this with it right now until I heat it up. The tail doesn't want to move either. The arms, the shoulders are really stiff here. These move good. I like this movement. This is nice and firm and moves easy. The hands are on little dodgy feeling hinges, but they do move. Yeah. So he can do his little pose being... So that does move, which is great. Interesting. I don't know if this guy will stand. He's standing really awkward, just like right out of the box like this. On my hand, he can kind of... I don't know. Let's get to this stuff first. We'll see what happens later. He actually comes with instructions. Did not expect that. Got a tail bit here. This looks like your typical sort of Mecha tail, where it would with their earlier figures, where they would have a rubberized tail. However, this one feels like it's hard plastic. It does not feel rubbery, so that is weird. And it is meant to pop into this ball joint in here. So I have this ball joint in here. Got this tail, which is also hard plastic. Will this work? It might, but I'm gonna heat it up. I'm not gonna do it this way. I don't want to break any of this thing. He does also have articulation just in his torso here. It looks like 2 points, actually. One bit here, around this area, and just above it here. So he should be able to turn in this area, but it's not really moving all that much. Again, joints are very fused on this guy. I do really like the pipes on him, though. Those pipes there, they look real wicked. I really dig that. That's a cool design detail. I'm not sure how practical it is in terms of the design to have these sort of flimsy pipes with a creature like this, but it still looks real sweet. As well as all the little details he has on his arms around here. That looks cool. Real nice. Really weird sort of metallic scaling going down his back, and then he has these really organic looking spines down his back, really reminiscent of actually the 2014 Godzilla design, which I think this guy was mostly inspired by. Again, I don't know how accurate this thing is, because I haven't looked at a picture of the Ready Player One MechaGodzilla in quite a while. I did look at them, trying to compare them a little bit when I was buying this guy, but I just don't remember how close it seemed to that MechaGodzilla. But he's a cool looking figure. He's got a real nice mean dinosaur-like face. Kind of reminds me of Reptar from the Rugrats. Kind of this really robotic version of Reptar. And I really like the metallic look of him. He's actually got a black wash over him, which does bring out the metal. It looks nice and sort of worn and rustic and cool looking. Yeah, sweet. And of course, we've got the tail, which is not attached, but the detail work down it, pretty legit. For a weird third-party knockoff bootleg type figure like this, not bad. The eyes, they're painted in alright. They're kind of metallic red. And yeah, nice sort of... Yeah, it smells very fumey, plasticky, but I remember they probably used a similar type of paint to my quarter-scale Gypsy Danger NECA figure, the Pacific Rim Jaeger, which smelled like this too when I opened them up. I remember it smelled kind of fumey. And they probably used a similar paint scheme with the silvers and the black wash as they did with that figure. So that kind of would explain that. Yeah, pretty sweet. Let's see if he's he's not doing too good on the standing front right now, so that's not the best. But regardless, let's take a look at what we have in here. We got this little bag of stuff. The tail was in here. And we got, yeah, it says to use a hairdryer. This is literally straight out of a NECA figure, this little instruction piece of paper. These guys were also being sold with bootleg NECA figures, some with modifications to them, like weird power armor stuff. It was weird. So maybe this thing was originally meant to be a NECA figure, and since the Godzilla license fell through for NECA, they never put it out, or something like that. Or maybe this is just genuinely a fan custom. Like maybe somebody sculpted this on one of those 3D sculpting programs on their computer, and then like some Chinese knockoff company decided to manufacture it in bulk. I have heard that at the moment these things are actually sold out, so hopefully they do show up again. Same thing with the Legend Creation or the knockoff SH Monster Arts third-party Showa 1964 King Ghidorah figures. You can't find them online anymore. You can just find the like 1991 special color version third-party figures, which do use some of the same parts, but so some of these knockoffs, they won't be around forever. So if you are kind of after one of these, maybe try and get on that as soon as you can. But from what I'm seeing, he comes with these like missiles, and I'm guessing they go on his shoulders here because I see these two pegs on his shoulder-rinos. There we go. So that would kind of peg into there. So it's not like clipping in super well, but it's there. And we've got this other peg here. We've got the hole on the little shoulder cannon. I always suck at doing this stuff on camera. But there we go. So his head should also articulate, but it's so stiff. Okay, it does twist. I'm forcing it a little bit, which isn't, you know, ideal. But his head does move. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to do anything more than that at the moment, because I don't want to break this thing. I'll just heat it up later on and try and squeeze on the tail. But he has, just to show you guys, his mouth moves. It's nothing great. His mouth doesn't close very well either. It just opens that much. I think actually in the Ready Player One movie, the villain, like, kind of digitally made this guy, so and it just kind of like formed around him, and he was like in a weird cockpit controlling it from inside the head, so kind of like inside the mouth the villain would have been sitting in there. That's what I remember from the movie, at least. I watched it ages ago, guys, when it came out in cinemas, and since then I haven't watched it, so just trying to remember. But yeah, very interesting figure, this thing. I'm glad we're getting stuff like this, because nobody was making an official figure of this thing, so this one, despite the dodgy feeling articulation, sculpt and paint-wise, not bad. Not bad at all. Again, assuming it is screen accurate, which I need to double check. But even just size-wise, this thing's pretty decent. I do recommend that you try and get this guy for the cheaper price off of AliExpress if they're still in stock, which again was around 50-60 Australian dollars, which for you guys in America would be closer to around 40 something, I would imagine. It does go for, again, like closer to like $100 something on eBay, and like that's pushing it a bit for this guy, I'd say. That definitely is pushing it, unless you're like super keen for one of these Ready Player One MechaGodzilla figures. But as far as this thing goes, pretty sweet. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a little quick size comparison with a couple of other figures you might have in your collection, and maybe then I'll show you some close-ups of his details just to close out the video. But I think what I'll do is I'll spend some time actually trying to fiddle with this dude, see if I can get him to stand and move any better and pop on his tail, and then I'll do another video about him in the near future, another actual review. So this will be really cool. But yeah, let's quickly compare him to some figures. So here we have a typical 6-inch Bandai vinyl style figure. So this is our 1974 MechaGodzilla. So yeah, this guy measures like 7-8 inches tall by the looks of it. So yeah, he is a big figure, and also made of kind of like a solid plastic, similar to a NECA figure, but slightly more hard, actually. It almost feels slightly more brittle, some pieces. Some are like the same softness as your typical sort of PVC that NECA figures are made of. Speaking of NECA, let's bring in this dude here. He's the Godzilla vs. Biollante 1989 figure from NECA, and they don't scale at all because this guy is actually pretty damn big. But even this guy is a big figure for NECA, and he's still nowhere near as tall as this thing, so that's real cool. Got a good size to him, even though it does have some flimsy detail work, like the shins here and some other parts make him feel a little bit more flimsy than this really bulky version of Godzilla. I was expecting this guy to be about this big, so I brought in this figure, which is like an I think 8-inch scale, 9-inch scale Bandai vinyl of the 2003 Godzilla from Tokyo SOS, and this guy actually is a little bit too big. So, yeah, I mean, they stand almost eye to eye. It's just this MechaGodzilla feels really flimsy compared to, like, Kiryu, who was in the same movie with this guy. But this gives you kind of a nice comparison if you do have one of these bigger Bandai vinyls. They don't really make them like this anymore, the recent movie Monster Series ones, which is a shame. But these ones were killer back in the day, these nice big ones. Bring in, again, this pop vinyl, just because, you know, everyone knows how big a pop vinyl is, just to give you guys an idea. So this guy stands almost 2 pop vinyls high when he's nice and stood really upright. And this is my only figure so far of the brand new MechaGodzilla design. So that's really cool to actually see these two together, because these are the two newest MechaGodzillas. So we have the kind of knockoff version, because even the version in Ready Player One felt a bit like a knockoff version, because it wasn't a Godzilla movie. It was just kind of like a cameo. So he's already like a super knockoff version, and then we have the version that actually showed up in the Godzilla Monsterverse. And they're similar in design, but they took them in kind of different directions as well, but both feel very westernized compared to the more stylish versions like Kiryu here, which is a fantastic MechaGodzilla design. This is just a 30 centimeter scale X+, so he's real big, just to kind of show you how this thing scales next to an X+. And yeah, they don't scale at all, but this gives you a good idea of how big he is next to a fairly large sized X+ figure. Finally, we can bring in the Monster Arts 1974 MechaGodzilla, which is a fairly small-sized Monster Arts figure. Nice comparison between these two. Very different designs. This one will forever be my favorite MechaGodzilla design, but I just love the variety that we're getting with these. So that's real sweet. So just quickly before I do cut off the video, I'll just give you a nice close-up of his tail here. I do really like it. It is nicely detailed. The way it's made seems pretty good, aside from it being a rigid plastic, which is concerning because it does look like it was originally intended to be a bendy wire, like the earlier NECA figures. Maybe this guy was a NECA prototype back when Ready Player One came out, or something like that. It could have just been a fan design, like I keep saying. We have the face of the guy here, and you can see that he's got this really even silver paintwork, but done with this black wash over it, which really brings out the detail work. Got a bit of red in his eyes, which, you know, isn't painted very, very artfully, but it's done well enough that it doesn't look messy at all. Got a little bit of articulation there in the mouth. Very vicious, mean kind of looking face. Very blocky looking face as well. So I'm not really sure how I feel about this particular face design for MechaGodzilla. It is very sort of caricaturized, very simplified, but it's pretty cool. Again, I love the pipes going round on this part here. That looks really cool. Got a little orange thing in his chest there. That's kind of the only real paintwork on him, is just a bit of that red in his eyes and on his chest there, and that round bit. Okay, got these cool little hands, which are really reminiscent of sort of classic MechaGodzilla hands with the finger missiles and everything. And it's cool that they do articulate back and forth. This really round sort of belly that reminds me a lot of the GMK 2001 Godzilla, which had that sort of rounder belly with the missiles on his back. And here we got the spines, which look like scrap metal. They look very organic and jagged, and it's really weird to see a MechaGodzilla design with spines like that, because usually they are very machined spines, whereas this thing, they're very much just there for like aesthetics. You can tell that they're just very jagged, but it does give this guy a really unique look, as well as this kind of like armor plating, which actually looks like medieval chainmail kind of plating or something around that style. I mean, obviously it's not chainmail, but you kind of know what I mean. It looks like it's got a more organic feel to it, like big metal scales. Very cool. We've got his legs here. Very thin part around here, which is the part that kind of makes me worried about him being able to stand at all. Just because, not even that the plastic's thin, it's just the joints kind of loose there. And then we got his feet here, which there are no markings under him. So this is just a blank third-party figure, no markings or anything under him. None anywhere as far as I can see. So yeah, very interesting, very cool, but I am really happy this thing exists. Because sometimes you do get gems when it comes to bootlegs and third-party figures, and this one's pretty decent as far as they go. We have our unique MechaGodzilla figure. So that is it for my unboxing and initial thoughts of the third-party Ready Player One MechaGodzilla figure review. God only knows who manufactured this, or whether this specific sculpt or design came from, but I'm glad it's out there, and it's really cool that we can pick one of these things up. If you are interested in this, I recommend trying to get it as soon as possible, because who knows how many of these things they'll make. With their other sort of third-party and bootleg figures, they did seem to be around for a little while, give or take like a half a year at the very least, so maybe this one will be like those and you can get it for a while. But quality-wise, I've still got mixed feelings about this thing. The sculpt and the paint and all that is actually surprisingly good, but it's just the articulation on it is the issue. He seems very stiff. I don't even know if I can really get him to stand. But I will mess around with that and I'll let you know in a future video how he turns out. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I hope to see you in a future video, but until then, may all your vinyl be irradiated vinyl. Rawr.